Let's go on over to Romans chapter 7. No, I ain't write this book. I tell you all the time, I am the tour guide. I am taking you through the tour of the scriptures, showing you what thus saith the Lord. That's all I'm doing, you know. So don't get mad at me and this brother here, cause I'm telling you, we ain't write this. But I know one thing, you better be obedient to it, cause when it's all said and done, if you not, you got hell fire to look forward to. If you can't love your neighbor, you know what I mean, or if you can't love the Lord. Two commandments now. It wasn't just one commandment. Romans chapter 7 and pick it up in verse 6.
But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead when we were held, that we should serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter.
Right, so he's saying we should still serve. We got to still be doing something. Go ahead.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law had said, Thou shalt not
All right,
covet.
see, the law is showing us what we are supposed to be doing. It's defining what right and wrong is. So it's not sin. The law not sin. It's telling you what's right and what's wrong. Because, man, if we go about establishing our own righteousness and not the righteousness of God, then it's all vain. We worshiping God in vain doing that. But go ahead, keep reading.
But sin taking occasion by the commandment.
That's good. No, that's good. Let's go on over to Second John, we're gonna read verse 5 and 6. 2 John 5 and 6. And I know, this class, I put a lot of scriptures out here in a short time. Usually I go through this many scriptures, it takes long, but to me, I feel like you read these scriptures, it ain't much to tell. It really not. You know what I'm saying? This is the way you define how you love your neighbor, and this is the way you define how you love God through these scriptures that we have read today. And for those of you that want to say, well, the law is done away with, or the law is the end of the commandments is the end, Jesus is the end of the commandments, right? The end means it's finished. That means in it. The end means you at the end of doing something, there is something. But that don't mean you don't have to keep the commandments. That's foolishness. 2 John chapter 5 and verse 5 and 6. Go ahead.
Now I beseech thee, lady, not as thou I wrote a new commandment unto thee,
Right. He said, I ain't writing no new commandment to you. Go ahead.
but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it.
Right. So he said, look, this is the commandment I gave you way back there and when I gave them to you at Mount Sinai. Them the commandments. They not new. They might be new to some of us because we hadn't heard them yet. But they know, some people don't know it's wrong to get tattoos. I had a sister tell me that she didn't know that if she couldn't sleep with somebody that she wasn't married with, if it was just one person. You know what I'm saying? This is just her boyfriend. She thought it wasn't nothing wrong with that. But see that you making yourself one with, but you ain't married though. You just sleeping, then you break up with that person and you sleep with your next boyfriend. And you break up with that person, you sleep with your next boyfriend. That's fornication. That's what that is. So at any rate, let's go to 1 John chapter 3. And we got two more scriptures after this. 1 John chapter 3. And we're gonna pick this up in verse 11.
For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another.
Right. This is what we heard from the beginning. When you love one another. Go ahead.
Not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him?
Right, because see, he killed. Thou shalt not kill. So that made him wicked. Go ahead.
Because his own works were evil,
Mm-hmm.
and his brother's righteous. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death.
Mm-hmm. So he's saying if you don't keep the commandments, you abide in death. Go ahead.
Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer.
Mm.
And ye know that no murderer have eternal life abiding in him.
All right, y'all better be careful out there. No murderer have eternal life abiding in them. Go ahead.
Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brother.
Mm-hmm.
But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shut up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him?
Mm.
My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth.
So he's saying, like, if you got it, man, somebody coming to ask you, you need to be giving it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't somebody needs something, you got it. Like, you being stingy, it ain't even yours to start with. God gave it to you. God give it. He take it away. But go ahead though. Verse 20.
For if our heart condemneth us, God is greater than our heart and knoweth all things. But love in our heart condemn us not, then have we confidence toward God. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of Him, because we keep His commandments.
Yeah, so people who say all I gotta do is ask God, it don't mean nothing if you not keeping His commandments. Go ahead.
And do those things that are pleasing in His sight. And this is His commandment, that we should believe on the name of His Son Jesus Christ, and love one another.
So there we go, 2 commandments. One, believe on the name of the Son Jesus Christ. So basically, we're gonna be showing our love toward God in that capacity. Then the next, He say, and love one another. We done saw these things today. Go ahead.
As He gave us commandment, and he that keepeth His commandment dwelleth in Him, and He in him. And hereby we know that He abideth in us by the Spirit which He hath given us.
All right, let's go to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. Go ahead.
For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous.
So people try to say, oh, it's too many commandments out there, and they hard, and you can't keep all those commandments. You wrong. It say, for this is the love of God, that we keep the commandments. So if you don't want to deal with the commandments, you don't want to deal with the love of God. That's sad. That's bad. That's trouble. Let's go to our last verse. Let's go to Psalms chapter 15. Psalms chapter 15. And I hope that, going over these scriptures, you see what love in God is and what love in your neighbor is, and what's required of you is to do that. And you go in, because it's a lot. We could have, it's a lot of stuff we didn't read. Now, I ain't read the dietary law. That's showing love toward God, because that's showing your obedience towards God. If you don't know what He say, you in trouble. What you don't know can and will hurt you. If you don't have AIDS and don't know it, then you just gonna die. Cancer and don't know it, you just gonna die. You know what I'm saying? And that's what these things are. These plagues. When I say these plagues, I'm talking about sin is like a plague upon